This is a oil painting of a scene that I always loved, castles and that historic sort of nature of certain subjects. But a classic thing that I would always love to do is draw the subject first. That's the process that I thought I would just show you. So we go from oil painting to drawing. Always good to set things up. Okay. So early on when I started my painting journey, I was 20 years old. I'd gone from sort of carpentry, finished that as a 19-year-old. Then for about nearly 12 months, I was then a picture framer, just working in my father's small little picture framing business. And at the time I thought, okay, this is a job. This is something to do. Always loved to be busy, always loved to be working. But now with the beautiful benefit of hindsight, I actually realised that that was almost a perfect apprenticeship into the world of art, even though my father's an artist and I had that always there as a child. He started well before I was born. But there's always one thing, it's almost like watching a game of tennis or golf on the television. It kind of looks easy, you're not really sure, even though you can watch the swing and the ball flying in the air or whatever. But until you actually really do that particular discipline, you don't realise the subtleties, of course. So I started as a 20-year-old, as I mentioned. It was the first Tuesday night in June in 1986. My twin brother actually was invited along, but he's more of a sort of a mathematical brain and it didn't really suit him. I don't think he's an electrician, so he's pretty well stuck with that ever since. Actually, we were 15, we were kind of apprentices in different companies, of course, but doing our separate apprenticeships. And I just noticed that I kind of rather enjoyed the creative process. And I think it's more, painting actually has a puzzle-solving element to it. And I think for me, that's the great beauty of it, is that we do, and this drawing is really visually solving shapes, how to interlock them, how dark and light to do the shapes in a certain area up against other big shapes, small shapes. So with that sort of knowledge, and I think I'd probably been painting about 12 months, I then went off to a drawing teacher. And I think it was about an 8-week course, and she sort of taught me the basics of cross-hatching and circular motions, and I think she put some really great exercises like just go and draw me 5 different trees or 5 different bushes, 5 different sort of completely different foliaged trees. And that immediately brought into my mind that we have to look at varying shape, varying ways to portray things visually. So with that, I started drawing away, and then I noticed that well and truly drawing was a huge weakness in my approach. I was quite good at applying paint, blending paint, mixing the colour, the value, but actually knowing where and how big or how small this shape should be, could be, was really quite foreign to me. So I then started drawing for a month, painting for a month, drawing for a month, painting for a month, and I kept that up for about 12 months. And within that 12 months, then my drawing was not my greatest weakness. It was almost then starting to become one of my greater strengths. I think colour's probably always been a strength and probably my one natural strength. So I've actually had to work on my definitely light and dark, which actually this was another marvellous thing that I did learn. And light and dark, and we think, oh geez, that's nothing special. But when we're painting a light effect, it's kind of the be-all and end-all to a light effect. The sun will give us, or the particular strength of the sun on that day will give us a measurement of how strong or how weak the light is. So when you think monochromatic work, whether it's with oil or acrylic or even Conti, this is just a 4B, 6B, 8B pencil. It's giving us a tonal light to dark contrast effect immediately. So once again, I love the saying that we go ahead in life, but we learn in reverse. So the thing that I learnt from this going back was that, boy, this was setting me up for the ability to be able to not only see shape and how to get a texture and an interesting effect out of sometimes just a blank wall or a horizontal line or a diagonal line. It was giving me that great sounding in light effects. And it can be a nocturnal scene. There's still a light effect. It's artificial lighting, so it carries right across the whole spectrum. And I drew kind of quite regularly for up to 12 years after that. And actually my first outdoor work was all drawing. And I thought it'd only take a couple of months to get the feel of working outdoors, but it actually took me more 3 years. But once again, I really learnt with the benefit of hindsight that was just the perfect training. So when you're going outside, if it's difficult, if it's a struggle, which even after 36 years of painting and I started drawing outside, I would just grab my little drawing book, normally a backing board, a little bit of music into some headphones, and I'd be away. I'd either drive or sometimes even catch the bus or the train into the city, so you didn't have to worry about parking. If you're having a good day, you could stay all day and just draw away. You didn't have any time limits. So I've been working on site for a very long time, even though it still is a great challenge. I think when I'm coming to exhibitions, I've probably done more studio work, because when you're needing to produce work and your whole year is relying on that exhibition going well, I'll normally do the 6 to 12 months preliminary planning. What subjects am I going to do? It's almost like a battle, a solo exhibition. You want to sort of pre-plan ahead your attack, some interiors, some buildings, some maybe cow paintings, maybe the odd farm scene, ducks, cows, the odd horse, your city scenes, beach scenes. A lot of people misunderstand, I think, just the sheer amount of planning that goes in, the time. You can learn and get better, but then you need to name artworks. You need to be able to know where and when and how to varnish, and which I do like to leave as long as possible, but definitely at least a minimum a month, because my oil paint has a fast drying medium, where years ago when I first started, it'd take a month for an oil painting to dry, but normally 24 to 48 hours my oil paint is dry. So in about a month at least, and it's normally just I like to use the spray varnish, because it's a very thin, soft application of the spray varnish, and a satin, non-yellowing and removable varnish is I find ideal for me. But of course there's plenty different ways to do it. And so then I progressed through my 20s, still drawing and still working as hard as possible. So that's why I like to say drawing powered my early part of my career. Some people think, you don't really need to draw. Some people have even came and said to me, it's old-fashioned. You don't need to do it anymore. But I would hate to think where I would be if I didn't actually do the drawing practice. It's just so important, folks. Do not underestimate it. Do not listen to anyone else. You definitely need to know the skill of measuring, and that's what drawing does. It teaches me where to line up, say, one arch or one roof line with another roof line. So we're measuring where one line intersects or cross matches with another line or another shape. And I think you can never get too good at drawing, so it's kind of a lifelong passion and hobby. Even though by the time I got to about 32, my wife and I, we started our family, and then I knew something would have to give, and I felt that at about that stage, I've got to really more probably now concentrate on the oil painting side of my work, because that's ultimately what I want it to be known for. So that's where I probably didn't and haven't had the chance to draw as much since then, but it's just a lovely tactile, physical skill that I think some people really struggle with their drawing. They sort of don't really like it too much, but for me, boy, it's just fun upon fun. And I've always sort of thought it's a pity we cannot make a full-time living and sell pencil drawings or Conti or charcoal, the monochromatic work, for the same price as a oil painting, acrylic or watercolour. Unfortunately, they just don't receive the recognition that they really deserve, because it is the foundation. And I think that word, foundation, to your overall work is such a great place for us to take our journey or leave from our journey to see where we can go.